Welcome to the SoulScape Show, where together we will explore and discover the depth and breadth of your soul for your evolution to higher consciousness. This is a very special show with your host, Gabrielle Spencer, and special guest, Terrie Christine. Gabrielle Spencer is known for conscious creation for old souls. She's a multidimensional intuitive channel and channels the golden beings of light and higher vibrational beings in healing sessions as an inspirational speaker, author, and practical spiritualist who assists you to raise your vibration to reclaim your inner power, spiritual gifts, and abilities. Gabrielle shares next level spiritual tools, clearings, and activations to unite your heart, mind, spirit, and soul to allow you to awaken and manifest your soul's highest destiny. And our special guest, Terrie Christine, is an internationally recognized intuitive energy healer, TV personality, radio and podcast featured expert, and author of The Secret Power of You, a guide to mastering your inner greatness, which is endorsed by Don Miguel Ruiz, author of the New York Times bestseller, The Four Agreements. For over a decade as a practiced intuitive energy healer, Terrie has helped thousands like you access clarity, results, understanding, and a sense of peace and freedom. Through her work, she helps you clear away your stories and fears that are wrapped around old energetic blocks which hold you back and often contribute to emotional and physical chronic pain. Within a matter of seconds, she can uncover the history of the experiences you faced which led to the creation of your limiting beliefs. Today, we will be discussing the secret power of you, unleashing your superpowers. Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me. This is Gabrielle Spencer, and I am your host for the SoulScape Show. I appreciate you being here, your love, energy, joy, and happiness. And today we have with us the happiness guru. I'm going to just make you that now. This is Terrie Christine, and she is here to share with us the wealth of her information and just her beauty and energy. I think it's really important for all of us to tap into not just our gifts, but our gifts for creating that happiness in our lives. And I feel like so many of us miss that. And so Terrie Christine is here today to talk about your superpower and your power within. And this is even one of the superpowers. We're going to just name it, right? So I want everybody to know that we invite you to ask questions, to put them in the chat box. And as we go along, it's just a free flow show. So as we read them, etc., we will chime in or answer them or call on you and let you talk, whatever. We don't have a format. It's just all about getting the information out there and allowing all of you to have your needs met and uplift you at the same time. So this is what I know about Terrie Christine, just from the periphery, right? Because I've been sort of paying attention to her for a couple of years. And like I was telling her in the beginning, I would pop in and out of her Facebook Lives back when she was holding them. And I keep up with what she's doing. And I think it's really amazing. So she has a beautiful new book, and we'll ask her about that as well. But mostly she's out there. She was just telling us that she was just on TV. And well, she'll tell us more about that experience as well and what she got out of it. But I can tell you, most importantly, she's a real person. And this is very important to me on the SoulScape Show and what I love to bring. And I have guests that are real. I want everybody to understand we are just like we are here in real life. And that's the important thing, right? Like real life, what did you say? Real housewives of the Potomac, right?
Of Potomac,
So the objective is to show everybody that we're real humans living a higher vibrational life in every opportunity we can. It's not that it's 100% all the time, but we do our best to make it as good as it can be. So I welcome you, Terrie, and you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks, Gabrielle. I'm really very honored and grateful for any opportunity to help people see an alternative way to heal from their past. And as an intuitive energy healer, I am internationally recognized. I have clients all over the world. There is no time and space with energy.
Right.
And I have written a book, The Secret Power of You. I have been on many podcasts and telesummits. I've been on Real Housewives of Potomac. That actually was on my Bravo moment. And Hay House Radio and let's see, Beyond the Ordinary, and those really large platforms with the telesummits with John Burgos and some other very well-known people. And what I've come to find is that we all have a voice, but we all have our own individual voice. So I may be saying something similar to that someone else is saying. However, you may resonate with me, or you may resonate with my story, and that will open up a seed so that you can see that you don't have to live in lack, or on the hamster wheel, as I call it, of not being able to let go of something from the past, or know that if you shift a certain way of your thinking, that you don't have to feel like it's hard to get what you want. Because life is really easy. It's what we start thinking and start believing within those thoughts that keep us from really the magical things that we truly want and desire. And I know a lot of people read that, we see it, and live the life that you desire. And I try to kind of avoid that because I hear it so much. Mm-hmm. But it's really living what you want, what you would like your end result to be.
Right.
Right.
This is the hard part, though. I mean, we hear so much, and people read so much, and then bombarded by so much. So it's finding what really works for you and what resonates, as you said, what really resonates versus kind of the I'm going to try this, throw it against the wall and see what sticks.
Right.
So how do they break that cycle of throwing everything against the wall to see what sticks? What do they do? How do you break through that pattern even of, I've tried everything. I know you've heard this too. I've tried everything and nothing works for me.
Right.
So how do they break out of that cycle?
I work with clients that have the emotional limiting beliefs and physical. So I'm going to tell you a little story so you can understand exactly what that answer is. So this client came to me, he has MS. And he, when I would tell him the mindset, think positive, shift some of the things you say, look at the end result of already you having it, all the things I'm sure most of the listeners, including yourself, practice or say you're practicing. But then when I would talk to him on another occasion, I might say, how you doing today? And his answer wasn't so positive. Or he would say, describe how hard things are or how much he's struggling. And then on the other hand, he says, oh, but I live and breathe what you tell me. So if he's listening, it's okay, because I really want people, and including this gentleman, to see, and we've talked about it, that it is a lifestyle to live in your presence. Meaning, what are you always thinking? What are you always saying?
Right.
Because the intent that you place, it can be a simple, my life is crappy. and that's just a simple phrase that you may be saying. How much intent, like like I call a rocket behind it, are you placing behind my life is crappy, delete, 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 because my life is awesome. But when you are saying it and you're putting some powerful passion, meaning that intention, the love, this is how it is, then what do you think you're living? And I always tell, I teach intuitive development, and I do a lot of workshops up and down the East Coast. And I do it like this. I say, you have a scale. You have positive on one side of the scale and negative on the other. So if you're saying I'm positive, 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 and 3 days later I'm so negative, you could push that scale to lean that negative now is more part of your life. Remember? Because it could say one statement with a lot of gusto behind it. Even though you spend 3 days going, I'm positive, and then you go back and I'm positive, 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 then one thing I'm negative. So if you really are positive and you want that positive part of your life to move your stream forward in creating what it is that you want, then that's how you just have to be present, what's in your thoughts, what's in your mind, what you're saying. Now, I'd love to say that this is the answer to everything, but it's one piece of your puzzle. So I do, as I was saying, I teach intuitive development, and I had a client just right before this show, and she was telling me all her aha moments. And I said, you got it. You're living in trust. Because when all these awesome things, she was seeing all these pennies from heaven, meaning every time she stepped out of an Uber or at park somewhere, there was a penny, there was a penny, there was a penny. And her girlfriend had just transitioned, and she was asking for a sign. And she was getting a sign literally every time she got out of the car. And so when you are living in trust, being positive, being present in what your thoughts are, knowing without a doubt that what you can have, what you can create is going to happen, then that's all part of your jigsaw puzzle.
Absolutely. I agree. I mean, it is a puzzle. It is about intuitively feeling into each piece and taking the steps when they show up, even if it doesn't seem like a step. I always think to myself, it's never a flashing sign, right? It's just that little knowing that comes in. And sometimes we miss it. Like you get too busy, or you're not paying attention, or you think to yourself, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. And then you forget. And then you just move on, right? And then later you remember and you think, oh, I should have done it. And it would have been, it would have brought things together maybe a little bit sooner, whatever. But it's very, it's difficult, I think, for people to understand, like even those little knowings are actually messages. Those little things that pop in, those are the ones you're really listening for. Because as I like to say, there's never a parade and a fanfare that says, dun, da, 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 here's your answer.
Exactly.
As much as I would like it to be delivered like that,
Exactly.
It has not happened for me yet. So I know that for a lot of people, that's the frustration. It's like, maybe they do the 3 signs. So do we need 3 signs? What's the story with 3 signs?
So, I actually have quite a few that come at me. But when you get one sign, sometimes you're not present. Again, you'll get it, you'll see it, and then it takes you a minute. But the second one, it's like when you're getting something, all of a sudden you're noticing. And like the third one is like a confirmation, right? But when you're someone like me who's worked on yourself, you've trust everything, even the things that don't turn out the way you would like,
right?
That is a sign for me that it's saying, well, you know what? You may have said you wanted to go in this direction. However, the universe is saying, we need to put you over here for a minute, because there's either something bigger or the opportunity of what you say that you really want because you trust is over here off this little path.
Right.
A good example, and I love examples. I say this so that people can see how real this is. I walk the walk, talk the talk.
Right.
So I've been looking for some brick and mortar, some office space. I call it my sweet space. And I found this one location. It was so perfect. It was everything that I thought. And I spent 2 whole days negotiating back and forth, doing the lease. And everything was fine until he gets back to the weekend. He goes, no, we're not going to do everything that we said we were going to do in the first place. I'm like, what? Okay. And I anybody else would have gotten irritated or frustrated. I said, you know what? It's all good. For some reason, maybe whatever. I don't see it right now. This is what I tell myself. I don't see it right now, but whatever the next opportunity is, but I'm going to keep moving forward. Now, that's the key to a lot of people. They're like, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to sit around and wait.
Or that might be the sign that I'm not supposed to do it. This happens a lot. And actually, it's almost like the test to see how committed you are. But that, I mean, I have a very special friend. We've been friends for 20 years. And we say to each other all the time, no matter what, good or not so good news, we'll go, okay, the message for today is just keep going.
Exactly. Exactly. And, it might not be in that building or,
Right.
with that landlord. It doesn't necessarily mean, that you're not going to have your suite, right?
Right.
And so I said, okay, I'll just keep moving forward. And then, now I'm just subleasing temporarily from this other little place until whatever blossoms. But I also have something else over here with a talent manager and trying to figure out. But again, I don't sit and wait. I move forward, and whatever moving forward looks like to me, because I do a lot of mind, body, spirit events. I have one-on-one clients. I teach intuitive development. I mean, because I'm the type of person now, when I start listing all these things, someone says, oh man, I'd love to do what you do, but that's too much work. Well, to me, right? They say that. But actually,
I'm only laughing because I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah. But I don't feel like it's a lot of work, because I'm the type of person, I get bored very easily. And when I was in corporate, they hired me for this one particular job, and I worked there 16 years. And at the end, when I left, they hired 3 people to take my job because I didn't want to be bored.
Right.
And it was easy for me to be able to multitask, to put a little project over here, get a little help over there. But I did it where it was a team effort. I never felt that, I pushed anything on anyone. But I do my work as a business, because to me, people come to me to receive an end result. And if I didn't create it like a business, I wouldn't have the passion behind it. Does that make sense?
Yes, I do understand. As similar to you, I have my corporate background. So very grounded in the business aspect. And I love what I do. But, I also run it like a business, because that is part of the fulfillment, in a way, is just, progressing and doing and all of those things. So I get what you're telling me. And I also know that there is a bit of I'm going to call it a little discordance for people. Back when did you get started as a healer? What year?
08, I think.
It's
13 years long ago.
Well, it's because we were like the 1999 wave, and then by 2008 is when I went out and started working with people and helping them. But anyway, there are many of us. It's the wave, I call us. But anyway, the thing is that there was this idea that was perpetrated, and it might still be, but it's that once you're in flow, everything is easy. So it needs to be quantified a little. Can you quantify that for us? Because I feel like that's where people kind of fall off the track, because it's like, well, I must not need to do that because
right.
So
right.
I think you're qualified to answer that question.
Yeah, thank you. Awesome. Yeah. I want to start back when I was in corporate and when I transitioned to this as my passion and purpose. And I tell people, because I do teach intuitive development, and I also, at the end, if people are wanting to do it as their business, then I do add that as a teaching tool so that they can see. I hear a lot of people go from, being in the corporate world, and all of a sudden, oh, I want to be, and this is just an example, I want to be a Reiki master, so they quit their job and they don't have any clients. I'm like, whoa, hold on. So, exactly. So how I did it was like I was a director of sales for in tourism. And so, it taught me how to run reports, how to set goals, how to customer service, how to listen, all the things that I do, what I do now. So I spent years learning it to incorporate it into what I do today. And so when I transitioned, I was a single mom at the time. So I had my corporate job 9 to 5. And then I would travel a little bit with my corporate job. And then I slowly started doing all the training. So I started with the Reiki, and I call it the lily pad of energy. So you have to start with that and you jump onto something else, but it opens up how to manipulate energy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, and my story goes a little bit back, but I'm giving you the revised version here. And so I'm like, I'll take essential oils and I'll take this and I'll take that, because knowledge is power, or at least in the corporate world. And I believe in any business. And so I wanted to learn everything and anything, even though I may not be physically using it. So I don't use essential oils in my intuitive work, but I will hear and I'll understand it, and I'll say, I'm hearing lavender. And because you might have this burn, or you might have this whatever, you need to calm down and use it in your, and whatever, in your tub, or whatever it is that might come up for me that I start hearing. So it helps me understand when I hear it. Or a crystal. I took a crystal course, and various other things. But when I transitioned from that corporate, I spent 5 years with an overlap. So I, as the single mom, would work the 9 to 5, come home, feed the kids, do their homework, and then when they went to bed, I would get on a psychic website, and I was an advisor. So I was an advisor for 5 years. So I would work another 20 hours a week while I did that on top of my corporate job. So that, again, got me used to connecting to energy remotely, being more accurate. I call it my psychic sandbox. I could play. I created a huge following, because just like you said, why you followed me, because I'm real and I like to make it fun. So the website that I was on, you could see me, but they would have to type. And so then I would let people, I'd say, hey, don't take over my room, but you become friends. And when I would see the registered name, I'd say, they would have these crazy names like Richard Pryor, really crazy, or Black Death. I'd say, Black Death, here's Richard Pryor. Meet each other. You come into my room and we'll have some fun. But I would never give things away. I would let them know my personality, and we would laugh. I'd say, let's talk about angels today. Who saw one over their shoulder? Who almost had a car accident and wished their angel was right there? Because she was, and then we would laugh. And then I would create this strong following. But it's really about you. So if you're into spiritual work, or your journey is to become somebody who has a modality and you want to heal people with it, you have to love yourself and love what you're doing. You have to be that, what we call, because you and I can relate to, real. Like if I say it doesn't make sense to me, I'm saying it doesn't make sense. Or I'm saying that I'm sad, then I'm sad. I'm not saying I'm happy and I'm sad inside. I'm going to tell you how I feel, because communication is the key. But when you're moving into that space and you're creating all of that, you're mindful and you're clearing your own limiting beliefs, you're mindful of your own judgment. That's a big thing. This is a big
one, judgment.
That's why I said
we're the worst judge of ourselves. I mean, this is all for the mind game.
Yep. And, and every once in a while, a little thing might pop in and going, oh, look at the way she looks. Wait a minute, is that judgment? And, when I started my workshops and even on some of the shows, I say to people, I laugh the way I laugh. I look the way I look. I got this thing in my mouth because I'm readjusting my jaw. I was in a car accident when I was young and my jaw is just being realigned. So, I got this funky stuff in my mouth. But if you don't resonate with my laugh, you don't resonate with my clothes or my hair or my glasses, it is okay. I love you anyway. Mwah! I wish you well. Ta-ta for now. There is someone else out there that you will resonate with. But as we move into more of our spiritual journey, are you working on yourself? Girl, I have had so many people that come at me and, oh, I'm a closet organizer, and people tell me all these things. So now I'm a life coach. I'm like, really? And then, you'll hear, I know you do. I hear this. I'm like, really? And I hesitate like I'm doing now, going, really? And I'm really happy for you, but how much have you worked on yourself? How much are you hearing your clients? How much are you present? How much judgment have you let go? How much are you willing to dive deep and go to the bottom of the barrel to let go of that crap you've been hanging on to from the past mom, dad, trauma, drama, sister, brother, uncle, nephew, niece, whatever, and knowing there's no more stories, that you don't even, think about talking about whatever happened when you were young. I can't even remember too many of my childhood stories anymore. And it's not because I have amnesia, it's that I don't relate to them anymore.
Right.
That I forgiving in such a profound way that the most important thing in my life is right here, right now.
So how do you get people unstuck and to give up their story? To get to the place where you are. I mean, everything you've said, totally agree, and I teach, and this is the way, the path to our ascension in vibration, is to be able to let go of it and make it so that it's not even a question, like, because there's that in-between spot too, where people will go, oh, I'm not a victim, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, okay,
that's right.
Well, I'm not sure exactly if I go as far as saying you're not a victim, because you're still playing the song, yet you think that by declaring that you're not, that's enough. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how do they get to the work? How do you suggest that they do it? What have you found successful for your own clients?
Yeah. When my clients come to me, they're investing, just like they would for you. And they're already very committed to letting go of their stories. I am, and there's no ego here. This is years and years of practice. I have 13 years of this, and this is my passion and career. And so I do this every day. Mm-hmm. And so when someone comes to me and they say something like that, and they have invested and they're having some sessions with me, I don't get them to the point where they're telling me their stories. I'm not talk therapy. So I just start with, hang on for a second. Let me connect to your energy. Let me tell you the strongest limiting belief. I'll tell you how old you were, the pattern, the story that had happened, the parent that you picked it up, or was it God? There's 5 different ways. It's dad, mom, God, someone else, or something else. So I'll just say, give me a second. So I'll get the age. I'll say, oh, it's dad. Give me a second. I'll close my eyes and I will see a movie in my head. And so now the movie doesn't mean I see dad holding you down. The movie could be 2 dogs on a boat and one of the dogs jumps off the boat. It's my way and the source of which I connect to help me have fun and to interpret it on a deeper level of how I interpret 2 dogs on a boat and one jumps off. Right?
Right.
And then it goes in deeper. And when I say, okay, this is what's going on, this is why this happened, and then I bring it to their present state. So I don't want a person to tell me, spend 10 minutes, my sister did this, my dad did this, and how can you clear all that? No, we don't need to hear all that. I don't even want to hear anything with your first name.
Totally agree.
Exactly.
It's
so
not
you totally understand.
In fact, it just reinforces your story to you, actually.
Exactly. And
it's not where the root of the problem is anyway.
Right. That's a story we would just want to erase off the chalkboard.
Yeah. Totally.
So, yeah. So, don't give us your stories, right? Just let us tell you, us as the intuitive, because that's what we're good at. If people all lived in the conscious state and all their limiting beliefs were in the conscious state, meaning where we are talking right now, right here, then you wouldn't need me. Then you would know that what you dealt with your mom when she hollered at your dad when you were 3 years old and your dad left the house and then you felt abandoned. But you don't understand why you feel abandoned. But if you remember that at the age of 3, that tiny little moment can be very profound for a 3-year-old that gives you the sense of, oh my God, if I get into an argument and they leave, they're leaving me for good. And that's why I can't get into arguments. So there is where I'm saying you, me, and any other intuitive that's listening, is that we dig into the subconscious to put the piece of the puzzle so the person can say, I don't have to tell that story anymore. I can let that go in a different way. I can rewrite my story saying, okay, I forgive my parents for arguing. I forgive myself for owning that. And a lot of people forget, I can also forgive God. I use that word God as a source of that. So source, higher self, light, whatever you're choosing to call it. But when I usually use God, everyone knows it's source. So, but, when we have these limiting beliefs at whatever age we pick up, God gets in the middle of that sometimes too, because somewhere we're all taught that God created the birds and the bees and also created me. And when we have a dad and a mom, and sometimes they're both present in our life, that our childlike self says, I love dad so much. I love mom so much. It's got to be someone else because dad wouldn't get mad at mom because mom loves dad and dad loves mom. So it's got to be. Ah! And then the key to that, and I'm sure you know, Gabrielle, is that when you start hearing a person say, I think, maybe, might, they're totally disconnected from source. So they're not trusting their inner self. So yes, I do listen very closely to the little tidbits that come out of people's mouth, but I try not to let them talk too much, because then you wouldn't be able for me to put your puzzle together so that you can say, whoa, I never saw that coming. Now I know why I struggle so much. Bingo. And all of a sudden they get to that connection. They start crying. They start laughing. They start whatever. And then there it's all bubbling up, and then we just shift it right from there. Powerful.
Exactly. It's very powerful. And as you were talking about God, even our reaction to the name or the word God tells you something about where you're disconnected. Because in all of our multidimensional existences, there's always a name for that unseen force, right? So we can use, a lot of people like source or the force, just if you're a Star Wars fan. But it's always fascinating to me because even for myself, when I have to speak about source online or what have you, I'm more conscious of what I'm saying about what I'm calling God, because there's that thing about there's preconceptions about what that is, and you're limiting me, or I don't believe in that, or whatever. And so it will tell people what has to still be resolved and forgiven with God if you have this reaction, because it's just a term. If you react to anything, right? Any words, any descriptions, that is a key for you that there is something deeper that is not reconciled or balanced within you. Right. So that's just for everybody out there. And it just came to me when you were talking about it, because I thought to myself, I do the same thing. I say, it's God, source, mother, father, God, whatever. And I'm always aware that there are people out there that are tensing up about it, and you don't want to turn them off, but then, you want to get the information out there. So it's just something to help people realize that if you are reacting or triggered by something, that is about you. I mean, this is a mirror universe, right? So everything's mirrored back to us. What is this saying about you? And if you truly have no reaction, sometimes you're holding the mirror for another. But when you're when you're beginning your journey of healing, a lot of times it's a mirror for both. Or that you're just holding the mirror, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Did I say that nicely?
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. When I explain, I just got a flash. So I love the flashes because it's telling me and I need to share it. So, I'm open to whatever. I'll try anything once if it resonates and feels safe and good for me. And so I thought years ago, I ran across this woman who channeled aliens. Like, ooh, let's try that. So I sat in a room multiple months, almost a year, listening to these amazing stories about our planet. There's all planetary type of messages and how what we're doing to do to it, for it, all those things, right? And we would ask about weather questions and it would come true. It was crazy stuff. And then I had a private reading about from this woman who also does channel this aliens. I had some questions about entities and entity attachments because I had been seeing it a little bit. And
Right.
so, and you know, where's the best place to go, right? So, and it was really, to me, resonated the answers I was getting. And when it resonates, to me, that goes to my core, the truth
Yes.
of that. So I'm hoping that people can understand that's what resonation means for me. And so maybe if it resonates for you, that's what that means. So when I explained where we come from, and I said it to this woman channeling this alien, I said, look, I look at it as like a ball of mercury. Now, you may not be as old as I am, but in high school, well, I think it was middle school or whatever, in science, they used to let us play with mercury. Now you can't touch it. But, right. And the science lab guy would have a ball of mercury, and then I remember he took it and he threw it and it rolled across the floor, and we all had these chairs, like bar stool chairs for our science lab class, and it would hit the legs and it would break apart. So if anybody's ever seen mercury, it breaks apart in smaller little balls. But now I remember this because I loved science, that mercury as a ball has the same chemical components as it's separate. So it still has the same as when it's separate or together. So I would say, look, if you don't quite understand how we come from source or whatever, look at it as us being a ball of mercury, and we drip off just like a little ball. We're still part of that. We're still the same DNA, the same connection, the same chemical components of the original ball of mercury, but we're just like now dripped off and doing our own little Shazam and magical moments, and then we're going to go back up to be with that ball again.
It's funny. I say it only it's like a raindrop is all that's required from your soul to power you here. So same idea, little drip, just a drip of a raindrop is just a drip of water. I mean, it's just small, but it doesn't take a whole lot to power another consciousness. But what's important for everybody, I feel like even in this conversation, is to understand, I want to say the vastness, but then not the vastness, because you as an individual still are fully connected. And our job here, it's not a kitty cat.
Yes, and she always loves to be part of any show that I do.
I hear you. I have my sweet doggie, but I make her leave the room because she will do crazy things and disrupt me. Anyway, but that's awesome. So it is all about realizing our connection. And you are talking about the superpower within, and that is the connection piece. So tell us more about that and about how you wrote about it in your book or what you see, because I think this is really the crux in handling physical pain and our actual physical existence and how we can create now with, lightning speed.
Yeah.
So
absolutely
share about that, because this is a large part of where I think people, again, get off track a little bit.
Yeah.
They think they're speeding along and then suddenly, oops,
yeah,
that didn't work. And then they don't know what to do.
Yeah. And they're like the clarity and what do I, yeah, right. So a little bit about, my story way back when dinosaurs flew. So I was at the end of a 14-year relationship. So to abbreviate all of this, I didn't want to live anymore. And I, because I was giving constantly all this unconditional love, and I wanted it in return. So if anybody's ever had a relationship where you don't get what you have been giving and you really want it, you become resentful, you become empty, you become sad and frustrated. And we had 2 little children together, and I decided that, I love my children. They're now 23 and 21, and they're very beautiful, amazing women. But it's not the same as that connection to intimate love, that full-hearted, like, oof,
Mm-hmm.
And then I woke up and I said, okay, I'm done. I'm ready to just stop breathing. But I could not do it to myself. So I laid on the bathroom floor and I begged God to stop my heart. And I said, I'm ready because this is all I have left. And I left my body and I heard three words directly from Source. I heard, love will come, because I had been wanting it so badly. And when you're at that lowest of low, so I totally understand when you hear in social media and in media about when people take their life or whatever to end it. I understand. I've been to that space. I just couldn't do it myself. So when I came back into my body, when I heard that, I realized it lifted me up just enough to give me hope, because I was so far down, but just enough. And then the very next day my life changed. I started, and this is so true. And it's like a book and I wrote it in my book, but I woke up the next day and, I was a single mom. Well, technically a single mom there because he was at the house, but he didn't really do anything. But, and I realized I didn't have time to read a book. I've maybe read one a year, but I went to the bookstore and bought a mountain of books, a huge shopping cart. And I started reading 2 and 3 a week. Don't ask me how I was doing it. It was resonating so much. I was like, oh my God. And I was like remembering it all and going, whoa. And authors I know that Esther and Jerry Hicks, Eckhart Tolle, Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay, all of the masters, and people I didn't know. And so when I started moving into trusting more of that, meaning opening up doors of opportunities, stepping into those opportunities, and then things started happening. People would come to me in the grocery store and tell me their stories of despair, of spouses beating them or having no money and don't know how to get out of these horrible experiences. And I'm like, what? And just random. But it was the universe saying, you may have been at your low, but look at these people. And not by comparison. So that's not the way I looked at it, the way it was coming at me.
It was to help you see gratitude.
Thank you.
Yes.
Love you. Absolutely. Love you so much. So, and it was. And then as I was moving forward into it, I gained my own strength to leave the relationship. And then here's where, we either decide that we are going to be angry and be against him and do terrible things, or her, whatever, if it's a man listening to the show, or stop everything, use your pain to catapult you to things that you never thought possible. So as you can see, I chose to use the pain versus to become the anger and the frustration. Now, there was a little moment that I, spent like 3 months doing some things that, like I shouldn't have been doing, but I thought, I had to get something out of my system. So, and I'm real, I'm honest, 3 months and I'm like, stop it, Terrie. Where are you? What are you doing to yourself? Mm-hmm. And then I just stopped it. And I stopped it for 5 years. Like literally, I never went back to it, but I stopped everything. And I just read books. I took courses. I went to meditate. I didn't even meditate. Didn't even know what it was. It took me 3 months how to figure out how to properly meditate. And I started just reading more slower, taking courses, and gradually moving into it. Now, where people get lost is that they start putting these things of what their end result is like this, like in their box, right? And this is the way I want it to be. I want to be, have my own reality show. Yes, I still do, but I want it to look like this, and I want it to be like Long Island Medium, right? But why couldn't you be on a Netflix show and it looked like something else or someone else? Because now you're starting to limit yourself, putting those end results in a box. And when you start doing that, then you never get it. And then you're saying, why am I not getting it? Because now it's like you're saying to yourself, I would like to have an extra $100 a month. Well, why can't you have an extra $10,000 a month? So because the universe can give you $10,000 a month, you're kind of not getting the 100 because you have the opportunity to have the 10,000, right? So just open the door for endless opportunities. That's the way I look at it. and allow it to flow in the stream of however it flows. Like I explained about the brick and mortar and how it didn't work out. I spent so many hours trying to go through a contract and nitpicking it to death, and then it all falling apart. But I went, you know what? First thing I said was, thank you. Thank you for whatever reason, for why it didn't happen. I don't see it, but thank you. And whatever's next, show it to me. So, and there, did you see the excitement? Did you see how, and if you do that and you live in that space, I know you do, Gabrielle, but the people that are listening or the people that are taking notes, when you're living in the space, I walk the walk, talk the talk. When you live in the space of excitement and fun, then the things that you truly want will come to you. They may not come to you in a day, a week, and a month. You know, where I live, I was just talking to a woman today. She's a magical, intuitive chiropractor. She doesn't crack your neck. She just does doot, doot, doot. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I feel so much better.
Wow.
And yes, I just saw her because I was having some neck problems. And we were talking about where I live. And I asked her, where do you want to see your life? What do you want to create? And she says, well, I'll never have it. I'm like, doesn't work that way. I said, delete all that. I said, if you could have what you want, what does it look like? So she started showing me a house on a 1 acre with her own garden. I said, how does that feel like? She said, free. I said, why can't you have it? She says, well, because we don't have the money. And I said, what is money? It's energy. I said, delete the word money and call it abundance. I said, when you have the feeling of the home that you want with the garden you have and the freedom that you have, I said, all that comes with it. I said, I created where I live. I said, I remember driving through the neighborhood. I am the master manifester. I would drive through the neighborhood that I wanted to live in, and it would be on the way to where I used to work when dinosaurs flew. And so I would drive through and I would wave, hi neighbors, and I would say to myself, I'm going to create what I want, and I don't care whatever it takes, I'm going to make it happen. Now, some people would think we're going to push people out of the way to get what you want. No, I'm going to change my mindset. I'm going to feel it within my bones that it's mine. And that's how you get what you want when you know you want it, right? And I know I wanted it. So I drive through the neighborhood waving at them, and I would go and look at all the houses, and I'd put a contract that would fall through, and I'd say, well, won the house, okay, it's all right, it'll happen. But I never gave up. And I tell people I never gave up. Year after year, 3 years, I never gave up. Anybody would have, I went through 3 agents and I kept saying, it's okay, because I'm going to find my house. And they'd say, well, find another agent. Okay. That's what I'd say. Okay, next. And I'd get another agent. And I found the house. And don't ask me where all the money came from. Don't ask me, because when I was looking, again, the single mom had a budget like this. Right. And it was like out here, but I never said, I will never live there, or I can't afford it. I never once said it. Mm-hmm. I said, I can't wait to see you, neighbor. Take your trash out, neighbor. Today's trash day. Don't forget to mow your yard. And they didn't know me, and I'm just driving by waving at them, because I felt I already lived there. I knew that I wanted it. It became part of me. And when I signed at closing, I cried so hard. Everyone wanted to know what was the matter with me. And I said, because I made my dream come true, and you have no idea. And I never gave up. But the never giving up isn't working 90 hours a week. It isn't having to work or giving up your vacations. It's never giving up the thought of being able to have it and the feeling that it's yours. So when you can move into that space. Now, I have lots of people that tell me, but my reality is that I have a job that makes $15 an hour. And I said, well, that's really great. But who's to say that a long lost relative passes away and you become the heir? You don't know. It's happened to lots of people. You just don't know. Or who's to say that the owner of the company thinks that you're the best thing in the world because you brought a piece of carrot cake to him and he leaves you the company? You never know. And things like that have happened.
So how do people get out of their own way? I mean, I am in total agreement with you in that we are the ones that limit our own reality.
Right.
Okay, based on what we can see and perceive around
Right.
us.
Right.
So how do people get out of that? Like, I totally understand what you're saying, because I'm already envisioning my next house. And I was just telling my dogs that the next house is going to have a fenced yard for them, because we don't have one currently and they need one. So I keep telling them, Mommy is finding you a house with a nice fenced yard. So I get what you're saying. I guess that I'm doing it without thinking about it.
Yes.
Just that I'm, putting in what I'm wanting. But for the people who aren't there, how do they break out of that limitation of like they only can perceive and see what they think is possible? How do you break the mind part of that? Because this is the mind shift piece, and people talk about the mind shift piece, but in this third dimensional mass consciousness of victimization and lower, what is the key? Like, I understand what you're telling me. But what about the people who go, oh, I don't see myself doing that.
I don't have a college degree, or I only work this job. Look, I lived it too. I don't have a college degree. I did go for 2 years, but I don't have the end result. How you get out of it, my friends, it's a choice. And I say this with emotion because it almost makes me want to cry, because I have been on my knees begging the God to give me some of the things that I wanted. I begged to get out of the relationship. I begged for love if I couldn't have it, to die. That is the bottom of the barrel right there. If you don't want to even live, right? Of not being able to have the love that you've been giving for so long. But it was a choice. Just like my client with MS, that he thinks that his reality is that he's walking with a rollator. But I worked with him for 5 hours and I got him on a cane lifting his legs. And but the end result was, he said, it's working, Terrie, but there's no but. Where are your small wins? Just like my client right before this show, it took me 5 sessions to get her out of the control mechanism. Everything she wanted to know, the end result, how it was going to look, what her mom was saying to her, her family, it was such control. It took me 5 sessions, right? Because it's an 8-month course that we work on, so it's not just short. But she realized the more I chiseled away at that 5th session, it blew her away when I did this process. And she said, I had no idea how much I wanted to control my entire life and everyone else. And sometimes we just don't see it. However, if you want more of what you want versus what you have, I can repeat that again because that's as powerful. If you want more of what you want versus what you have, it's a choice. So it's a choice of saying, I'm done with living in lack or having a job that I don't like. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I remember taking my own intuitive course. It was a 9-month course. And I remember her saying that, do whatever it takes. I wrote it across the entire notebook. And I said, here it is, Terrie. This is what I have to do. I lived in the pain that everyone has and had. And I know, but it's a choice. So you, Gabrielle, you know that some people we can heal and help them shift. Some we can get almost there and some we can't. Because they're still choosing to live in the past, or choosing that I can't let that go because they're going to get away with it. Or whatever they're choosing.
Or I don't want to make the mistake again, so I can't let it go. To remind myself, this is really common. And I recently said to someone who, this is what came out. I said, but you are bringing it about over and over by reminding yourself it's going to happen. You're drawing it to you every time. So yep, you're proving yourself right, but you're not actually stopping the lesson. That's the funny part. Like, you think you're going to be aware, but you're not. In fact, by holding on to it and repeating the lesson, I'll never do that again, I'll never whatever, you're just drawing it back to you. So I get what you're saying. I
Yeah.
find it's very interesting. I like to think that if people could just step back and listen to themselves and the words they're saying,
Yeah.
that would help them a lot. Would you like to take a live call?
Of course, I love a live call.
Well, Marianne is still here. She's been out here for a while, so let's see if Marianne is still there. Marianne, are you there? Oh, she's on mute. I thought I unmuted her. Marianne. I know, it's always fun, right? You're like, why is her I think she has it on her side. Marianne, you can unmute yourself, I think. There. Are you there? Marianne. I think she unmuted herself.
Yeah, I thought I saw it, but yeah.
Marianne, you may speak. Speak.
We love you, Marianne.
All right, Marianne, I'm going to put you back on mute. All right, anyone else, you can go ahead and raise your hand. And then we have, since she's not on, I don't know what happened.
I'm sorry. I might have
all right, honey. All right, so we have questions in the chat box. How to learn to trust the tiny inner voice that guides us when we listen.
What's that question now? How to learn?
How to learn to trust that tiny inner voice.
How do we learn how to do that?
How do we learn to do it that guides us when we are listening?
I love it. Baby steps. You know, when we think, just like when you're at corporate, if people pile on a whole bunch of stuff on your desk, then what happens is that you work slower because you get overwhelmed and you have these deadlines, and then you're like, oh my God, and then you get frustrated and you work slower. But if you just separate and take baby steps are your small little wins, right? And then before you know it, you're like, oh, I can try this different. Like, I'll meditate and I'll get my answers from within. And I tell people meditate. You do not have to sit in the corner and and journal for an hour. You can meditate while you're in the shower. You don't have to think about the suds. You just do it, right? But clear your mind and ask questions. Help me see, help me know, help me feel what's in store for me today. Help me see the answer to the things that I'm needing today, right? And so if you take baby steps to allow yourself to trust that inner feeling and let go of what you think the end result is supposed to look like. Yes. And don't worry about, I get a lot of this, but I'm going to hurt their feelings. Well, then you're triggering them, and they need to be triggered anyway because they have a limiting belief that's coming up and it needs to be healed. But it's not, there's nobody intentionally trying to hurt someone's feelings. Nobody. So if we just allow ourselves to speak our truth, and if you don't remember how to do that, put your hand on your heart and just speak from within. Speak your truth without ego, without judgment, and then allow yourself to speak. This is how I feel. This is what I want. This is what makes me happy. Speak it out. And then there's another baby step saying, ooh, I said that. Okay, they may not have liked it, but I said what made me feel happy. And again, that's your inner feeling, your inner truth, and taking the baby steps.
And again, we'll go back to practice makes perfect. That when you do take those smaller steps, like what you're talking about, and you get used to hearing what it is or feeling what a message is for you, that helps you. So it's not such a tiny voice. Basically, it becomes
it's roars.
Yeah, I mean, you just it just pops in. You're not meditating. You're just going about your day, but that doesn't happen overnight. That is because you are listening, or you take that time to hone that. It's a skill. It's an ability. It's a gift. And it's not that you're disconnected. You just don't really know what it sounds like. And so, lately I've been talking about the difference between gut intuition and heart intuition. Okay. And so the gut intuition is still the fear-based intuition. Don't cross the street. Those things, that's not your cute little inner voice that's really guiding you. Is, do I turn left? Because like in the Sliding Doors movie, the very old first Gwyneth Paltrow movie long ago, if nobody's watched it, it's a great movie for what we're talking about. So it's I just made it onto the subway, this particular car, and I felt like I needed to hurry. I didn't have any reason, but I did. And I got on this car, and then that changed, everything. Right. So that's more that little, the hunches that aren't saving you from anything. They're guiding you into what to do next. You know what I'm saying? So that's how, just what Terrie just said, is that you just do that small part first.
Yeah.
Because the big signs and the really big information, I don't know about you, Terrie, but I don't get it in big information. I get it in little dribbles.
It really depends.
You're going to do this little thing over here, and then you don't even know how it's going to hook up to anything else later. But then later, a week may go by, and then you realize, oh, that was why I did that. Right?
Yeah, that's exactly how it happens.
That's exactly how it happens. That's what I mean. It might be just, the strangest thing. I was heading out to the Conscious Life Expo 2 weeks ago, and it was really late, and I was packing, and it was really late. I was going to have to be up at 3:30 in the morning. It was like 11:30. So I was like, so I get this, you didn't send the email. And I was like, and that was it. So everybody see that? It wasn't a whole book of instruction. It was just, you didn't send the email. And I was like, but I already packed away my laptop, and I'm tired, and I need to get to bed because I have to get up at 3:30. But you know what? I knew that was a message. Like, I needed to get up. I needed to stop what I was doing, come back to my office, take out my laptop, and send the email. And I sit down, and I'm thinking, I don't even know what to say. I'm so tired. And I just sat there for a second, and it came to me, and it was really easy when I got out of my own way and stopped bitching about it. And I sent it. And what is hilarious is I didn't hear anything for a few days, but when I came back from Conscious Life, I got an email, and it turns out that I just made it in for this next season. And it's something that I've wanted for 3 years. So I was like, well, isn't that interesting? Because it's just the right time. And I would have missed it because I would have come back from the expo and been tired, and who the heck knows what else. So again, that wasn't a huge message, and I certainly fought it. But I listened because I've learned, right?
Yeah.
You too have learned, right? When we don't listen, and it's not that I would know it wasn't a disaster. That's my point. It's just, it's what I consider to be like the detour to get you faster to where you want to be, versus waiting for the next opening for that to come back, right? Because sometimes it may not double back for us to have that opportunity, because I didn't get it. I didn't take it. So there's just many ways to look into this, right?
But then the question comes, though, right at the point where you just described that, is like, well, how do I get that? Well, again, we talked about longevity of doing this work, working on ourselves, and all the pieces of the puzzle, the trusting, being mindful, the gratitude, and never giving up. We can all do it, and it will come in various different forms and ways. Sometimes people will connect to the non-physical and start talking to dead people way before I even started. That doesn't mean that you're any different than me. It's just that's how it happened for you. And then I tell people, if you get it, keep practicing and make sure you're still working on yourself, because you got to let go of the judgment. You can't be very judgmental when you're giving messages to other people from the dead people. Yeah.
Okay, so the next person says, so I live in a place I love, but my finances are not allowing me to stay here. Love to get help with it. Been trying to sell it for 3 years, but no one wants to buy it. This is from Trudy.
Oh, Trudy. I love that, because I do group energy clearings locally at the Bethesda Salt Cave in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and Zoetic Wellness in Pikesville, Maryland. So it's all in the metropolitan DC area. And I've had several people just come into these group energy clearings that I didn't know, that had homes on the market 6, 7, 8 months. And then they end up selling their house or getting a contract 3 days after doing a group energy clearing. Because what happens, it's funny, I just did a podcast with a real estate agent, and his was real estate and wine or something, and he had me on there, and I said, let's talk about homes and not being able to sell them, because what happens is that if we've been in a house for a very long time, then it becomes our home, our castle, our memories. And even though we say we want to sell it, there's conscious and subconscious connections to it. I remember when I sold my house and I had it for 10 years, I mourned after I sold it for a month, because I raised my children in it. After leaving my relationship, it was my spiritual journey. It was 10 years of that. And I mourned it, and I didn't understand why I was so upset and sad. But what I also had the opportunity, as I was learning and developing my skills, I'm a master manifester. And so I said to myself, I have an entire year to sell my house. Now, I know, Trudy, your house has been on the market, but I'm going to give you some key components here. So I had a year to think. I said, when do I want to sell it? So I said, okay, I have a year, September 1st, a year from, because I said on August 30th, next September 1st, I'll sell my house. How much do I want to sell it for? I had it in my mind what I wanted to sell it for. Every month I started seeing people sign contracts. Every month I started knowing that I was going to sell it. And I was telling people, you're selling your house? Yeah, it's on the market. When are you selling it? September 1st. How do you know? Because I know. I would tell people that. I had a year. When do you think I sold my house?
September
1st. How much do you think I sold it for?
Exactly what you wanted.
Thank you. And let me tell you, Trudy, during the time, I'm talking to her right now, during the time, it was 2010, in Maryland, 60% of the housing was under foreclosure.
Right.
I sold my house in 15 days for cash.
Awesome.
And that I know. And so now I did not get absorbed, because, and now think, this is what you were talking about, Gabrielle. People get off the track and then they start thinking, this is one of the things. So Trudy, where are you thinking that you can't sell your house because of, quote unquote? Are you thinking because it's been on the market too long? Are you thinking because you have so many memories to it? Are you thinking because you haven't found your new place? Are you thinking because you haven't found your new partner?
Because she loves it.
Yeah, right. Or, right.
You don't really want to let it go. So
there you go.
What's your alternative?
Right.
I mean, choose another path then. If you don't really want to sell it, it's going to be hard to sell.
Right.
That's that energetic connection you're talking about.
Right. And then, and now here she's saying, no fee. That's all excuses, honey. And not excuses it's excuses we sell to ourselves. We sell to ourselves. And so when I said, I'm selling it September 1st, I'm selling it for this amount, I knew the market, but I said, nope, my house is sold. Really? I said, yep. Even my agent started saying, Terrie, you're crazy. Yes, I am.
Trudy says, I'm working to keep going even though I'm 73. The fees in the community are too high. But I think this goes back to the limitation and seeing the opportunity, because Trudy, there are other things to look into versus just selling the home.
Yeah. And then the limiting belief about her age, she threw that in there. And Trudy, baby, I get it. I get it. And even though I may not be 73, there were so many other things that I talked about my story that I get it. But we have to say our reality is what we can create. And I know that you're saying, but my reality is I have to get rid of my house. Oh, delete, delete, delete. Right. So maybe it's to a certain point that now, so you're not selling it because you don't want to move. Because that's clearly what you're saying right there in that text or in the message. The fees are too high. If the fees weren't too high, I weren't moving. I'm 73. I want to stay where I'm living. So this is the reason you're hanging on to it. You're trying to find another way, but then you're not manifesting your other way. Yes. All you're saying is, I don't want to move.
Right.
And now
that's the stuck. Energy I get out of that. Okay, I'm selling my condo for $50,000 on April 15th. 2020. Okay. Well, so here's the next thing. What I am afraid of. This is from Marianne. So Marianne wrote us a note since we didn't get to talk to her. Okay. So she says, what am I afraid of to embodying my divine essence and partnering with my highest divine partner?
She has some dad blocks going on. Yeah, I just picked that up there. So hold on. 5 and 6. So Marianne, you have some dad limiting beliefs at the age of 5 and 6. Hold on, let me give you your story really quick. And because even though Gabrielle read it, because the key here is that I spent 5 years on the psychic website, and it allowed me to practice when people would type in. And so when people type, and you know this, Gabrielle. Oops, sorry.
Well,
Oops.
you can there's no time, space. So connecting with somebody's energy, I know you don't need the name either. I don't either. It's the whole thing, the energy is connected. So that's what we're saying. She's tapping into you, Marianne, as you already know. Tapping in.
Yeah, so and I just did, and I could still see your name up there, so there's energy through that. But doing it so long, and you typed it in, she read it, and I got it. So you got some limiting beliefs wrapped around your dad that are keeping you from feeling that you can create the things, that you can feel safe in creating things. Hold on, I had the age. Give me a second, because I got disconnected because my computer almost fell off the chair. Hold on, really quick. There was some, I just saw a merry-go-round. So that's telling me your dad was doing the same thing over and over again. It's just going to take a little bit longer to dig in deep, but I'm feeling that with you have to see more to believe more. There was something, your dad must have been the type of person that, let me show you how it works, honey, because if you don't see it, then we'll never get there. And, because some people have to have that seeing to believe, and there's some divine connection that's keeping you feel like you have to see it to believe it. And it can be in a form of more abundance, or give me that rock star moment so that I know that source is doing this for me. But just like Gabrielle explained, it's the feeling that she said, I did this, and a week later it showed itself why I did it. This happens to me all the time. And this right here is called trust.
Yep.
Whatever we do, we know it's for something. We may not know exactly why, but we're just doing it because either we're feeling it or we just do it. Half the time I just do things and I'm like, oh, I just did that. Wonder why I did that. Bingo. And it shows up a couple days later. I'm like, wow, rock star. Yeah.
I go, man, I'm really glad I listened to myself.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be shown to us with angels trumpeteering and, rainbows and butterflies and unicorns. It can be just something that we do. And then when it kind of comes together in that synchronicity, whatever I'm thinking, that word, that moment that we're like, perfect, because I trusted it. So many of us have this little fear, like whatever the one woman about Trudy, about selling the fear of what, she's going to end up in because she loves what she has and the money is too expensive, which is all limiting beliefs anyway. But, trying to get to where she wants to be, there's so many things I could add to that, but, ask for what you want. Go to the condo association, renegotiate, see what you can do. When we're in those moments, there's so many people that'll just turn around and go, okay, I'll give you a break for a year or something so I can give you a breather. But, it can happen. You never know. You just never know. But for Mary Ann, you don't have to see it first to believe it. Just trust it. Feel for yourself, trusting within yourself to have you believe it, and then it happens just like Gabrielle and I are saying.
And if I may add, don't fear that there isn't anybody for you. So this is the other part, for us to give up anything, right? Or we think we want something, but then we're almost afraid of, well, if I put myself out there, I may not get it. And then what does that say about me? But there's a whole lot in this area. So keep on it, because what we're telling everybody is that we're living it just like you, but in the practicing, it does flow more easily, because sometimes even the question or the thing that you're focused on isn't actually the issue. And so then the question is, what is the real issue? And it is more about working on your own trust, working on expanding your own heart, and drawing to you people that are at that higher vibration to be a divine partner. That's what you're looking for, moreover than just where's the guy, right? Or whatever. I mean, it's there are other things that have to be addressed sometimes, like you're asking, and what you gave to her, Terrie, regarding her dad, and that, you know, there are bigger issues, but all of us continually move through that. And I had a question come to me actually again while I was getting ready for tonight. So Terrie, after we do all this work of healing things, how does it go after? What are we working on when we get through this level of healing?
Fun and adventure.
See?
You know, I love that question, Sweets, because that's where I am, and I believe you are too, right? Yeah?
Well, it's because we've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
We've worked with a lot of people. And as we continually work on ourselves, because that's really the key, we get to the next phase and then we teach it to everyone, what we're learning and what we're experiencing. So there does come a time when you're not doing all of this pulling and clearing and moving through this yuck phase. So give the people, I want to say, it's like I can see you with a bouquet of flowers. Like, what do you look forward to in your daily life besides the fulfillment of helping people? Where are you seeing your own trajectory as this ascension energy is here and we're moving?
You know, for me, and I do speak for me, and, you know, and help others in a different way. But all the time that I've spent clearing deep, profound, limiting beliefs that was embedded from my parents, and then if I'm triggered and something else comes up, you know, you can have one experience with a parent and have 100,000 different limiting beliefs wrapped around one experience. So, you know, when I train intuitive development and I say, okay, tell me my strongest limiting belief, and 90% of them always come up with dad, I say, oh man, I thought I worked on that. And, you know, and then there's something else popping up with dad stuff. Hang on, my computer's getting ready to die. I know, so I'm going to keep talking. But when, and it was 100% charged. So when I am in the space where I have, like I have worked on so much stuff, it's a process now of when I feel like there's something new that I want to learn, then I step into something. Like I just recently took a workshop to confirm some things about mediumship work, arena style. So I thought I was going to be learning something when in fact it was only confirming. Okay. So did I waste any money? No. And then I felt like it was worth to me the place to confirm that I was doing what I do, and I do it very well, but I just needed confirmation, I guess. But when now at this point in my life, I don't live in the limiting beliefs that most do about having to work 40 hours a week. I look at it like, I mean, it's to me, like I just said, it's fun and adventure. So I use the motto, you know, I'd like to work less and make more, but I'm very responsible, and the value that people get is more than what they pay for, because I'm very passionate based off of my story, you know, that I don't live anymore, but based off that which I knew. I tell people, you can have the pain that you have once, but you'll never have it twice when you work with me, because I didn't have me when I had that pain,
right,
but I have me now.
Right.
And so now I find, what can I do to help more of the masses so they don't have to live the pain that I lived? What more can I help If it's not writing another book after the first one I've already written, which is The Secret Power of You, what other ways, if it's not another Real Housewives or my own reality show, or because it's, to me, I have a different angle. My angle is before my last breath, that more people don't have to go through the pain that I went through at the end of a relationship. That if you can let go of some of the limiting beliefs and not hang on to having to please someone else first and give all your soul away, and that's kind of what I did, but I did that for myself. I'm the blame for my pain. I know that, I acknowledge that, but I never will have to live it again. So now my passion and purpose is to make sure that you don't even have to go through it the first time. But if you do, don't worry, you won't have to attract the same type of person, and you won't have to go through it again. And so as I am moving forward, my purpose and passion, and I say purpose and passion because it's, to me, it's one. It's like having the bird and the nest, it's one for me. That we are all born into the same type of structure, meaning we have a caregiver, maybe two, sometimes one, may it be a mom, dad, or a grandparent, or whatever. And we all are going to create some form of limiting belief. We all are, even if we have perfect parents. I have had that, and they're creating the opposite effect, right? I'm sure you've had, Gabrielle. And
I laugh only because I'm a parent. My children, though, are going to be 16, 14, and I have a 9-year-old. So I'm right in it. I'm in the middle of it. Right?
Yeah.
And I laugh only because I often declare to them that I'm not even trying for perfect parent award. So
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? It is what it is. And I'm a realist as well. So you have to understand they have lessons, and it's very funny in my household, but I get what you're saying. Everybody choosing what it is that they wish to continue to experience, and then taking the action they need to get the healing, to get the release, to get the guidance. I mean, what you said, I heard you say was, you had to figure it out. And for many of us that were awakening in this late 90s time frame, and then, working it through, like you said, 5 years. So it took me many years. I began mine through, pain and suffering when, if everybody were on the outside, my life looked perfect, right? Teeny tiny, size 4, everybody. Little blondie in Florida on the beach in a bikini with a convertible Mustang. I had the life, right?
Wow.
I know. So the point is, it all looked fantastic, right? But inside, it wasn't fantastic. And actually, my life just kept falling apart. So I can totally, relate. And everybody listening to us, it doesn't matter what other people perceive about you or your life, where you're living your own. And the sooner that you can seek the guidance or the help that you need, and that you resonate with somebody that can help you, who's been there, done that, and can help connect you to that higher energy that you're not able to reach yet. So it just is about taking that action. Somebody, Tia, writes in that she understands the message I'm hearing is to go for what you want and trust that it will be. But the other message is not to limit your potential outcomes by being too specific.
Yes.
I don't even know what I want. How do I figure that out? Super question.
That is a great question, because I do have people that come to me quite often. I'm sure you too, Gabrielle, that I tell people, I remember my 30s that I didn't know what I wanted. I know that I didn't. I didn't know what I wanted.
I thought I knew a lot of things.
Yeah, I thought so too. And then when I started digging deep, I started honing in, again, feeling. So I said, okay, I went back to my childhood. What did I read? What did I do? Who did I hang with? What made me happy? What made my soul sing?
Right.
And so if you were hanging with animals and that made you, because there's people that really connect to animals, then there's something there. Where I actually, it's the funniest thing, I couldn't get enough of criminal novels. I read them like candy, right? And I didn't put it together. No one ever said that might be something you should look into, because I constantly read them. And when I hit my 30s, I'm like, you know what? I know I'm a little older, but I'm going to apply for the U.S. Secret Service. And I did. And I got through the fast track. The only thing, I had a weak eye. And I couldn't get past the testing, but I got through everything. And I was right there, and I didn't make it. And I was devastated. And I thought, And when I look back at it, like in my 40s, when I started into the spiritual journey, and I was really upset about it then, I said, you know what? My whole life would be different. I wouldn't be where I am today. The universe really had a plan for me, and I didn't know it then.
See, but when you said it, you know what I got? Is that you are like an investigator. You are.
Thank you.
You do uncover the mystery in a
Thank you.
way bigger way.
That's what I tell people. You are so smart. So I actually tell people, I say that I put the pieces of the puzzle, that I investigate the history of you, and I find what the criminal was, right?
Yeah. Where's the disconnect bad guy?
That's right. And so you are right. I do it. And it actually is the way I look at it, it fills my soul so much. That when you have people coming to you and they say how much you've changed their lives, and you save their life and you save their family or whatever you saved from them, and they love their life, that in itself, just you can't get enough of that. That feeds my soul. So really, Tia, go back into what was feeding you in your childhood. And even though she went to 2, that even though, I can see it, like Gabrielle could see, I am an investigator now. You have to think out of the box on how you can use that. If you're an outdoor person, you can do so many things, and there are people that really resonate with animals. There was one woman, you're going to laugh, and I'm just going to take this really quick, that she came to me in a Mind, Body, Spirit event, and she says, I'm retired. I want to do something. I don't know what I want to do. And I goes, okay, let's talk about this. What did you do when you retired? She goes, I was a high school counselor. Great. And then I looked at her and I said, you love animals, don't you? She goes, oh my God, let me tell you about my 2 dogs. She spent 10 minutes telling me about her 2 dogs. I said, okay, animal communicator. She said, what? I said, you would be the perfect animal communicator. Counseling the parent, owner, you love animals, you're on it. What'd she do? She followed my advice. She's an animal communicator right now.
See.
Loves it.
Right. I agree. And many times we can't see it for ourselves. And it's fascinating. It's fascinating only because now I'm doing this for my daughters. My 16-year-old, it's so funny. I have her enrolled in a course in high school for helping them to, do the personality test and everything and figure out what she should do for a career. And this is very funny. She asked me to help her write this paper about, they give her the answers of, this is your personality type, and these are kind of the careers that you could do with it. Which one like really turns you on, whatever. And it was so funny. So I read what she wrote, and I said to her, okay. So I wrote a different paragraph for her, and I wrote in there, my mom says I should be a radio host personality, because in her personality profile, she is a campaigner, which means she's really gregarious and gets out there and all. But I said to her, when you were like 6 or 7 years old, we have video of her where she had set up a broadcast with a microphone and was like interviewing and getting her little brother to do a report. And I said to her, sweetheart, you have been this since you were a little girl. And I am telling you, this is what you should do. So it was just so funny. But it is so what you are saying. Like, what were you doing when you were younger and your own imagination was going, right? But she had forgotten that this was a whole time of her life where she was playing reporter.
Wow.
Anyway, so it's very funny, and it just reminded me when you were talking about that. It's so true. So talk to people who knew you when you were younger, if you
Yeah.
don't remember, right? Because a lot of times as we get older, we forget what really did bring us joy. And that is why we don't have clarity, because you don't remember. It was a long, long time ago. All right, my love, it is 9:30 here on the East Coast. Do you want to do I know you want to do an energy thing. Do you feel it? You
Yep.
feel that we're complete?
Yep.
You
I always
guide
feel
us.
it. Yep. So
Okay.
let's just do a quick clearing. And this is actually my specialty. So I do group energy work and clearing the collective consciousness. But I'm picking up connection. Like I feel it's all up here. So let's clear your clarity. Connection. So when it was connection to clarity. So connection to source, connection to clarity, and connection to communication. So it was all the upper chakras. So
Good.
let's clear anything that's keeping us from. So this will help Trudy and Tia and Marianne and all the other ones that felt like, oh, I'm stuck. But having more clarity and moving forward and trusting that the universe has got your back. So everybody take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. I do this because lungs are life. When you breathe in, you're expanding your life, your lungs. When you're breathing out, you're setting your energy, and we're making sure you don't float away. So letting go of any stagnant energy too. So everywhere and anywhere that's keeping you from clarity, peace of mind, peace of heart, seeing and fully and freely knowing that source has got you, holding you, comforting you, loving you, that you are one with source and always in with source. You are a bed partner with source. That is your being, your love, your honor, your trust, right there next to you. Uncreate, transmute, and vaporize across all time, dimension, space, and reality. Everywhere and anywhere that's keeping you from seeing beyond your physical eyes, hearing beyond your physical ears, and feeling beyond the physical body, being one with source energy, to be there, know you, love you, trust you, honor you, all that was in you, yes, within you. We just brought it all in. Uncreate, transmute, and vaporize across all time, dimension, space, and reality. Everywhere and anywhere that's keeping you from speaking, singing, flowing through your throat, flowing through the thymus, delete. Somebody's got a connection there. Flowing through heart, thymus, and mouth, all out, communicating fully, freely, with ease and grace, feeling, knowing, trusting, believing, with ease and grace, that all that you are saying, doing, and believing is all ease and grace, all love, honor, and cherish. Uncreate, transmute, and vaporize across all time, dimension, space, and reality. Everywhere and anywhere that's keeping you from really, truly hearing beyond the physical ears. Hearing so profoundly that bingo, got it. Uncreate, transmute, and vaporize across all time, dimension, space, and reality. One more. Everywhere and anywhere that's keeping you from knowing source energy is you, within you. You are one with source energy. You have the magic from within. Uncreate, transmute, and vaporize across all time, dimensions, space, and reality. Take a big breath in, everyone. Big. Out through your mouth, completely, fully, freely, letting go of any stagnant energy that is keeping you from all of that and more. Uncreate, transmute, and vaporize across all time, dimensions, space, and reality. That's you, my love.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for being here, Terrie. I have loved getting to know you, and I look forward to having you on our panelist discussion coming shortly in a little bit. So everyone, thank you for being here. We love you, and I love the energy you've shared with us, and appreciate you too. Send you all big hugs, big kisses, and lots of light, right? Mwah! Namaste. That's right. Bye for now, everyone. See you next week. Thank you for joining us on the SoulScape.tv show. Go to soulscape.tv to access the many free gifts from our guests and for more great masterclasses and panelist discussions.